and gave up a lot of
Objection,
these
Your Honor.
fights.
Hearsay.
That wasn't
Overruled.
Thank you. Please continue.
So he reached out to other people and to me to that effect. Furious at me for taking meetings. There was one in particular I wanted, one meeting I wanted to take because it was a project in development with a sci-fi writer. And I remember I wanted to take that. These things were just, they were just constant fights. But in between them, when things were good between Johnny and I, he would be, you know, he would word it to me like, I'm trying to look out for you. You know, you say that you don't want to be objectified. You're doing it to yourself, you know, but at first it was because I dressed a certain way or had sex scenes, and then it just got more narrow and more narrow and more narrow what I could do without being the blame for why the industry, Hollywood, the entertainment industry was putting me in a box and objectifying me. So it became my fault. I mean, I believed it. You know, I believed it. I adopted a lot of these changes myself, not because Johnny, you know, said you have to do it this way, but because of all the other things that he said and did, I eventually found myself making decisions about my own career, about how I dressed, about how I wore my hair, how I presented, where my eyes were cast when I walked into a room. And I believe those were my own decisions.
Amber, did there come a time in November of 2014 that you engaged in some couples counseling with Dr. Cowan and you and Mr. Depp?
We attempted to. I had stopped seeing my therapist at the in 2014. I couldn't sustain seeing her and be in the relationship with Johnny, and I chose Johnny. Eventually, Dr. Kipper introduced me to his close friend, Dr. Cowan. And I met with Dr. Cowan and agreed to let them share communication about my care, my treatment, both what I said to Cowan and what I said to Dr. Kipper, who had become my physician as well. He also put a nurse on me that would be my travel companion, and that travel companion would keep tabs on me and report to Dr. Kipper, who reported everything to Johnny.
Objection, hearsay. Calls for speculation.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. So tell us about the couples therapy in November 2014.
So Dr. Cowan, this man who is friends with Kipper, who's treating me, agreed to see Johnny and I together. And I don't know how many minutes of that went on before Johnny stormed out, knocked something off the table on his way out, and rolled a joint in the bathroom before storming out of the office, slamming the door.
All right. So I'm going to take you up to December of 2014, and specifically December 17, 2014. And I'm going to ask you to take what, if anything, do you recall of an incident with Mr. Depp relating to Clive Barker?
He was the sci-fi writer that I liked. Well, fantasy sci-fi writer. I kind of had a dream project based on a book that I loved of this author. He's just a weirdo genius, artist, writer. And I had a meeting with him through another director about a piece of property he wanted to make into a movie. And I just remember I believe we were at the ECB. It was in December of 2014 when Johnny found out that I had this meeting scheduled, and was furious at me. Accused me of having this plan to sleep with this. He was mad that I was taking the meeting at this man's house, but the man was very ill, like terminally ill, and not able to leave his bed or his home. He was under home care and very ill. And the person who was introducing us explained to me how we had to meet, and I did. And that was a big problem for Johnny. At first, it was that he was concerned about my safety, and I thought that was sweet. And, you know, there is something that I thought was sweet and romantic about that. But combined with the drinking, it was not very long before I was being accused of full-on having this other plan to sleep with the writer in order to get this part that I was already being, you know, basically offered to develop. And it was just this, you know, he switched from he was accusing me of having this ulterior motive with this director, the director having it with me, then with this writer. And the important thing I can try to get across in this moment is that nothing I said, no amount of explaining, apologizing, accepting, not accepting, agreeing to not go, nothing worked. Nothing changed. How mad he was at me and constantly telling me I had done something wrong to deserve what was happening. Until, of course, he takes it too far, hits me too hard, breaks too many things in the house, and then leaves, which was the pattern. And he would leave and not have to deal with the cleanup. He never had to deal with the cleanup. He never had to deal with the destruction or see me or the house that he had destroyed. He never had to deal with my face the next day. He would just go. I called it splitting. You just split. And eventually I'd get an apology of some kind, or I would get an offer to have him come over. He would offer to come over and talk or give me my peace or give me my goodbye. And in many ways, I found myself accepting that, knowing it was kind of false pretense, because I too wanted to resolve it. I didn't want him to think I was sleeping with this sci-fi writer. I didn't want him to think that I was this slut he said I was all the time. I mean, part of me really wanted to believe that he didn't mean those things, and I wanted to get to that part of him that would tell me he didn't mean what he said and that he was acting this way because he was messed up, you know. And the cycle would repeat, I suppose.
Was there any physical violence on or around December 17, 2014?
Yes is the answer to your question. I don't really remember what happened in that fight. I remember more afterwards. I remember how apologetic he was for it. I remember him telling me he took it too far. I remember him saying he'd never do it again. And I remember wanting to get to Christmas. You know, Christmases are hard, probably for everyone. And I remember it was close enough to Christmas that I was tired. And I wanted to be in a I wanted to be in a kind, gentle, peaceful state for Christmas. I didn't want to go through a breakup at this time. I didn't want to, you know, that's what I remember of that time.
Let's bring up Defendant's Exhibit 321, Michelle. And this is on 12/17/2014. Is this a text message exchange between you and Mr. Depp?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I'd like to move the admission of Defendant's 321.
Any objection?
Sorry, Your Honor, just a quick minute. Your Honor, no objection.
All right, 321 in evidence. You can publish it, please.
Amber, I'm just going to turn your attention to this. This is an email exchange between you and Mr. Depp, and he says, I am truly sorry to have upset you to the degree that I have. I couldn't be more sorry for yet again ruining your day. I do, of course, take your generosity, your selflessness, your affection, and your sweet doting deeply into my heart, and I think that I've been reciprocal. Agony is never the answer to any equation or occasion, nor is rage. Please know that my apology is sincere and solid, and as stupid as it sounds, I hope your meeting with Clive Barker is excellent. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, and then you respond, thank you for your words, and you indicate you just left Betty Sue's, that's his mother?
Yes, and I then had a glass of wine with my former agent, Megan,
Okay.
that afterwards she encouraged.
Objection, hearsay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, and we can take that down. Let's bring up 325, defendants 325, please. And this is an email exchange the following day, 12/18/2014, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, Your Honor, I'd move the admission of defendants 325. It's already in? Oh, it's already in, Your Honor. My apologies. We'll get that figured out at lunch.
With what redaction?
It's already in,
It's
so.
been in evidence. Does anybody over there have the list of evidence that's already in evidence?
Yes.
Okay, we're making sure.
Ours indicates it is. It's in.
It's in evidence.
Without redactions, Your Honor?
It was redacted. I don't know what it
Well,
was redacted to.
The redactions don't.
That's how it is in evidence, Mr. Murphy? We can check. We'll check our copy.
Thank you. It's fine, Your Honor. We've confirmed.
Yes.
Thank you.
All
right.
It can be published.
Thank you.
That's- You can't see it on your screen? All right, we'll take care of that during the break. If you could just share it there. Oh, get it? Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So this is from Mr. Depp, right? Says, it's a way, I've let it go too far, went too far. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
I always regret it when I jump, or worse, when you jump. I don't want to be conditioned to continue that behavior. Therefore, I'll put in heavy work with shrink. What is your understanding of what he's referring to as shrink?
Psychologist.
Objection calls for speculation.
Did you have an understanding of what he meant?
Yes, I knew exactly what he meant.
And what did he mean?
Shrank is shrink.
What did he call shrink?
Johnny called shrinks, meaning of psychologists, therapists, shrank.
Okay. I'm sorry for being less, for your disappointment in me, for my behavior. I'm a fucking savage. You see that?
Yes.
All right. Gonna lose that, gonna lose that. The devil is all around, right? Now, you respond to this. And of course, before you go there, and he says, I am well aware I should have been bigger at the moment, and that it will never again manifest in negative experiences. It can be done. What a killer concept to visualize. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And you respond, I love you, I miss you already, correct?
That's right.
Right. And what, if anything, is that consistent with the cycle that you have described?
Well, the language he used after particularly violent episodes was savage, monster, devil. And so we ended up both calling his other side, the side of Johnny that would do and say unbelievably horrible things. It was very different from the other Johnny. That was, in my opinion, exact opposite. And this is typical of the apologies that I would get when he took it too far physically. I was encouraged because I thought it meant he understood that he could really hurt me. Sometimes I didn't think he understood how much he could hurt me physically. I mean, so after this, I had a visible bruise. I don't remember where, but I remember what other people, well, I can't say that, what they said, so. Anyway, and I, in these fights, would try to stand up for myself. By December 2014. I was pushing back. I'd push him off of me. I'd try to hit his hands away. I tried to always get back up, which sometimes, not sometimes, almost always made it worse. Always seemed to provoke him. But I tried. And worse, I would yell at him. I'd scream at him. I'd call him ugly names. So ashamed of the names we'd call each other. It was awful. It was awful. We both got into that pattern. It was so, I felt so angry that this was happening to me, and it just felt so unfair, It felt like nothing I could do, felt like nothing I could do would change the sobriety patterns, felt like nothing I could do would stand up for him, and nothing I did made him stop hitting me. Nothing. So, I tried for over a year, maybe two, of just not responding physically, not responding verbally, just staring at him. I tried to freeze. I tried to go to a different place. I would try then lashing out verbally. I would try to threaten that if he hit me again, that I would call the police. The police were called several times, but I tried to do everything. I even threatened to leave him, and tried to leave him, and nothing was working. And I think by this point in our relationship, we're both saying awful things to each other, screaming at each other, and unfortunately, when Johnny would start hitting me, he'd just win. I don't know how else to describe it.
This might be a good
Okay, that's
time for
good.
the lunch break.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and take our lunch break.